He had empty pockets and zero chances, but one decision changed everything. Don't blink. The boy stood outside the store with his hands deep in his empty pockets. His name was Daniel. He was 16 years old, thin, quiet, and almost invisible to the world rushing past him. People walked by carrying shopping bags, talking on phones, laughing, complaining, living lives that felt very far away from his own. Daniel had no money, no connections, no safety net. But what hurt most was not the hunger or the worn-out shoes. It was the feeling that life had already decided his limits. He lived in a small, cramped apartment with his mother. His father had passed away years ago, leaving behind debts instead of savings. Every day after school, Daniel worked small jobs, cleaning yards, carrying boxes, doing anything that paid a few dollars. At night, he lay on his bed staring at the ceiling, listening to the city noises outside, wondering a dangerous question. Is this all my life will ever be? Most people around him believed it was. Teachers expected little. Neighbors expected nothing. Even Daniel had started expecting less. One evening, after a long day of work, Daniel stopped at the public library. Not to read, but to rest. It was warm, quiet, and free. As he sat at a corner table, his eyes landed on a simple quote written on a poster near the wall. You will never rise higher than the level of your thinking. He stared at it for a long time. Something about those words felt uncomfortable, almost insulting, because if that were true, then his biggest problem wasn't money. It was his mindset. That night, Daniel couldn't sleep. He realized something painful and powerful at the same time. He had been thinking small because life had been small to him. He didn't dream big because big dreams felt dangerous. If you don't expect much, you can't be disappointed. But that mindset was slowly killing his future. The next day, Daniel made a quiet decision, one no one noticed. He decided to think bigger than his circumstances. Not magically, not unrealistically, but intentionally. He started by changing what he fed his mind. Instead of scrolling endlessly on his phone, he read books at the library. Stories of people who started with nothing. Entrepreneurs, inventors, leaders. People who failed, learned, and kept going. He noticed something strange. Their beginnings looked a lot like his. They were broke, ignored, underestimated. The difference wasn't talent or luck. It was belief. Daniel began asking better questions. What if I don't stay here forever? What if this is just the starting point? What if my empty pockets don't define my future? Thinking big didn't give him money overnight. It gave him direction. He started setting goals, small ones that pointed toward a bigger vision. He saved a few dollars from every job. He learned basic skills online using free resources. He practiced discipline when motivation disappeared. Some days he failed. Some days he doubted himself. But here's what changed. He didn't quit. People around him still saw a poor boy with nothing. But Daniel started seeing someone else in the mirror. Someone building something invisible. One afternoon, while helping an older man fix his computer for a few dollars, Daniel noticed how easily he understood the problem. The man joked, "You're good at this. Ever think about doing more?" That sentence stayed with him. Daniel began offering simple tech help in his neighborhood. Nothing fancy, just honest work. Word spread slowly. A few dollars turned into a little more. Not success but progress. And progress builds confidence. Months passed. Daniel still didn't have much. But he had something rare, vision. He knew where he was going, even if he wasn't there yet. There were moments he wanted to give up, especially when exhaustion hit, when rejection showed up, when results came slower than expected. In those moments, he remembered one truth. Small thinking keeps you trapped. Big thinking keeps you moving. Thinking big didn't mean pretending life was easy. It meant refusing to let hardship decide his limits. Years later, Daniel walked past the same store where he once stood with empty pockets. This time he didn't stop. Not because he was rich, but because he was free from the mindset that once held him there. He understood something most people never do. Your bank account reflects your thinking before it reflects your effort. Your results follow your beliefs. Thinking big didn't make Daniel better than anyone else. It made him responsible for his future. And that is the real power of thinking big. You may start with empty pockets. You may start with nothing but doubt and fear. But if you think small, that's where you'll stay. If you think big and act daily, you give your future room to grow. Your circumstances are temporary. Your mindset doesn't have to be. Think bigger than your fear. Bigger than your past. Bigger than what people expect of you. Because the moment you change how you think, you change where your life can go.